All right, hi everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the Tribeswell Podcast. I'm here at Old 55 Distillery in Newtown, Indiana, with Jason Fruits, the master distiller. How you doing, buddy?
Let's go easy on the master. So,
Master,
yeah. Distiller. So we'll let people be the judge of that. So. Yeah.
Oh man, so you contacted me, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Man, it's been like 3 or 4.
Oh man,
Long
you
time
said
ago.
you said I'm going to start. Jason and I have been really good buddies since high school and before high school, I think.
Oh yeah.
And we're here in my home county, near where I grew up, and they have put up this gorgeous whiskey still. How did all this come about?
My family owns grain elevators, and we decided that my dad has always encouraged my brothers and I to be entrepreneurial, and Dad came to me about 6 years ago, and he's like, hey, you need to diversify. And so we came up with all this crazy ideas, and my little brother was actually brought a business plan to me. I was actually working at the casino in Anderson, and I was just crazy busy. One kid, another one on the way, and I was just like, dude, I don't have time for this little piddly-dink stuff anymore. And Aaron was like, well, let's stop goofing around, man. Let's go big or go home. So we kind of went on this big odyssey with my dad, who, by the way, does not drink at all, has never had a sip of beer or liquor in his life. And we drug him to craft distilleries all over the country and just kind of did a ton of research on whether this was even plausible. And then I kind of brought this business plan to my dad and waited for him to laugh us out of the room, and he was like, okay. And we were like, I don't understand, what does that mean? Like, I can spend my inheritance 20 times over, and that's basically what we did. This is a Coda still from Germany. It's custom made. It's the only one like it in the world. It's a 3-tower, 19 bubble plate, triple dephlegmator. I always call it the Star Trek Enterprise of stills. I just have the coolest piece of technology right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a close-up video so I can cut in here for that still. But yeah. It's still. So tell everybody what a bubble plate is.
So we have 19 bubble plates in here, and basically every single one of those bubble plates is a distillation. And then on top of that distillation, this is a hybrid reflux still. So as the liquor is basically rectified up these towers you see behind us, it is actually that what doesn't meet proof is the easiest layman's way to explain it, falls back down and goes back to the pot and starts the whole process over again. So this is distilled. It's a lot of times. We don't really talk about that. If you're a distiller worth your salt, like triple distill or whatever, it's just not really something we, because at the end of the day, the product speaks for itself, But we can make vodka in one run on this still. It does everything we need it to do. It's pretty incredible.
Well, I remember when I first saw this still a couple of years ago, you were explaining what it does, and I was thinking back to when I toured the Maker's Mark Distillery. Mm-hmm. And I remember they have their bubble plates. Call here. Hello. And there were 3 of them, and you said, it's just the 3, but they just have 3 of them. You have 19 of them. It's
19, crazy. Yeah. So what normal whiskey distillers have done in the past is they usually have what's known as a starting still, and then they have a finishing still. So they would basically make 2 runs of alcohol is what they would do to get up to the 160 proof and below that we have to be to make whiskey in the United States. And to do that, we basically we can do that in 1 run. This is just a super efficient, extremely complex piece of scientific equipment that just happens to make delicious bourbon. That's what we make.
It is it's amazing. So we have 3 varieties that you've made.
Yeah, so we make 3 whiskeys so far. We have the corn whiskey, which is actually our single barrel in the middle here. Those are the same products. This has just never been in a barrel. We sell that as a joke. We just released a little bit. We won a gold medal for it, and we just released it basically to kind of show how good our single barrel. So we do all single barrel whiskeys. We don't blend product. We give you 1 barrel iteration at a time. That's why we don't do age statements. We can't hold age statements because barrels come to fruition at different times. We want to give you a consistent product, so we don't just blindly, pull product at 2 years or 4 years or whatever. So,
the clear corn whiskey, it won this. What's the award it won?
So it was basically a gold medal at this Micro Liquor Awards, which is basically a competition for extremely small craft distilleries, and we actually sent that out before we were even. We had literally just been for sale, and I always thought that we would sell, a little bit of that, but nothing like tremendous in any way. And we have sold more corn whiskey than I ever thought we would. It's been
in my house. So I have a bottle. And I'll use it in cocktails that call for vodka.
Yeah,
because it obviously doesn't taste like vodka. It's got a bite of of a shine or a whiskey taste, but it really makes interesting if you use it in a mule, if you use it in really just any kind of cocktail.
Absolutely. So we always kind of sell that,
and it's awesome. It's just an awesome product.
It is basically like sweet. Vodka is the easiest way to do it. So when you make vodka, you're taking all the flavors out. It shouldn't have any flavor. It should basically just be pure alcohol, a great base to do martinis or whatever it is that you want to do.
I've never made a martini with it.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
Let me try that.
So but with that, predominantly how we sell that at restaurants and bars is in cocktail placements. So makes amazing cocktails. When it gets chilled, it's just so smooth. And it's so sweet. It's just a great cocktail. We released the single barrel about 5-6 months ago.
That's the bourbon.
That's the bourbon.
This is a regular corn
single barrel bourbon. It is our corn whiskey aged in a single barrel fashion to make bourbon, and that is our flagship product. That is what we make 95% of. It is that is our mainstay, and it is I would put it against any bourbon on the planet. It's fantastic. And then our final product has just been out for about a month, and it is actually sold out statewide. We sold it out basically in about 2 hours, and then had a couple tiny releases to some large liquor store chains. But that's our 100% sweet corn bourbon, this farthest one on your left. It is we are the first in the world ever. We made bourbon out of corn on the cob, sweet corn that we grow on my grandpa's farm, and we bring it in. We actually just got done harvesting. It'll be 2018, is that right? Bourbon. So it's a pain in the butt, and there's so much redneckery that goes into it.
Yeah, you were telling me about everything that the crazy amount of work, because I've heard obviously once you hear about something like a sweet corn bourbon, if someone else brings it up or whatever, you'll kind of like, hey, what are you talking about? My buddy, he makes this stuff too, and I've heard other people say they want to try to make this stuff, and I'm like, you're never going to get this. What is so hard about it?
So first of all, it's just the cost. So we 56 pounds, a bushel of normal number 2 filled corn, which is what we put in the bourbon and in the corn whiskey, which is what everybody makes liquor out of. Cheapest commodity in America is $3.30, $3.40 by the Chicago Board of Trade this morning. So that's for 56 pounds, $3.40. For 50 pounds of sweet corn, it's $560. And the reason it's so much is that's a seed. That's the only way you can collect it, and the way we can even come close to affording it is we grow that, and then we plant it, grow it, and then we kind of have a proprietary process of how we dry it down. And that's kind of the proof is in the pudding there. Like once people handle it, they're like, okay, there's a reason nobody does that. We're just dumb enough to do it. So unfortunately, it makes, and I won't say unfortunately, it's awesome. I was going to say unfortunately, it makes just an absolutely amazing product. And it does. It's delicious. It's not like anything you've ever had, and that's why we've seen the success we've had with it. And it is unique. There's nobody will really copy. I've been asked before why we went with 100% sweet corn, and the answer is if I would have went with a blend or 80%, somebody can always copy or say,
or even 20. You could go full gimmick and say it's 10%.
A lot of these large distilleries would just drop a bag in and say, hey, we put sweet corn in there, it's sweet corn. I wanted to really make something that was, and I prayed. It was a big, huge, expensive experiment.
Yeah.
I wanted to pray that it would turn out just kind of the way that I wanted it to, which was, you know, just something different, and we just lucked out. It is.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing to go for what was it, 2 or 3 months ago. I came up here to do some photos for the Old 55 website, and Jason says, "Hey, I know it's weird, but I want to go to the middle of the sweet corn field because we have the giant sweet. It's the biggest piece of single sweet corn field I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we took a barrel out and we set the bottles on it. We took a picture of the bottles in the field where I guess the corn whiskey and the bourbon doesn't come from that field, but
around it comes from right there. So yeah, but growing all around that. But there's this big patch of sweet corn right in the middle. Yeah. So when we started this whole thing, we wanted to be really transparent. So in the alcohol industry, I guess I'll say, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Like, people say they do one thing and it's nothing, they buy it from somebody else. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just industry practice. You know what I mean?
People got to drink.
Yeah, people have to drink, and you have to make it, and you have to make it, and you have to make money. That's what we all want to do. And this business, the distilling business, is hugely expensive. You know, I mean, it's just terribly expensive to get into. And we just, we just decided we wanted to kind of, do something different. People always ask us, why didn't you start a brewery? I'm like, because everybody started a brewery.
Yeah, there's breweries everywhere.
We wanted to, I was kind of more of a spirits guy anyway, and I was like, man, if I want to do something, I want to do something hard, that's hands-on, and I can kind of express myself through it. Not that you can't do that through beer at all, I don't want to say that, but that's just kind of like my family motto: do it 10 times harder than it really needs to be done. So
I remember that. Growing up with you.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of our cross to bear when we did this whole thing. But we wanted to do grain. We wanted to do field to bottle. So we grow this on my grandpa's farm right outside of New Richmond, Indiana, which is about 5 minutes from here. We're going to take a drive out there here in a second, actually, and we source it all. We bring it in here. We mill it. We mash it. We ferment it. We distill it. We bottle it. We literally do everything from the second it's seed into the ground until we hand it off to the distributor. We do everything.
Right.
And that's my, I think there's this place for products today. I think there's a place for business, period. I don't even think you need to say a product of business, period, of people getting hands-on and kind of saying, hey, like, I want to take ownership of what I make, what I do. I don't want to half-ass anything. That's kind of our motto. And we incorporated that on the label. You'll notice on all of our marketing material, we have these double horse heads, and people always, when Colin and I actually, gosh, dude, that's been like 4.5 years ago.
I know, it's crazy to think how long ago that
when
was.
we were building
the graphics for that recently. I was going through my computer, and it was funny because you had this idea for the double horse head, and what is it, Plato or Homer?
Yeah, Plato. So Plato's oh geez, now I'm having a brain fart.
The chariot.
Allegory, Plato's allegory of the chariot. So we, I brought this idea to Colin, and I was like, hey, we want to, all these companies have logos that mean nothing, and there's nothing that I don't want on my bottle that doesn't have a meaning, And I explained this to him. So Plato's allegory of the chariot is like a parable. It's like Jesus' parable. It's like a story with a moral meaning behind it. And the idea is Plato said that that man's soul is triplicate in nature. There's 2 horses in the charioteer on the back of the chariot. The dark horse, the white horse Thumos, and then the charioteer. And those things represent the dark horse is man's animal nature, which you see on the bottom of the horse head. Thumos is, and I'll get to that in a second, the charioteer is man's reason, which is what separates us from the animal kingdom. And then finally Thumos, which was this very Grecian idea of like pride. It's probably something meant like fire in the belly, and men or women could have it. It wasn't a sexist term, and it was just about like taking pride in doing things. Like warriors could have it, like housewives could have it. It didn't matter. Like if you were good at what you did and people appreciated for that, like you had Thumos, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, that's just kind of like, and this article that I originally read this in that caught my eye was talking about how like modern American culture, like our products, our work, everything lacks thumos, you know. And so we incorporated that. Well, again, Colin helped me, and we designed this beautiful logo, which is basically our logo. I mean, for lack of it, and it's kind of cool. We so the white horse is on top, and the allegory itself is about balance in life, like all things. Like the fastest chariot, the best human being is the one that is putting his pride, his animal nature, and human reason all working cohesively to be the fastest chariot. And you know, we are a liquor company. We always encourage you to consume intelligently. And the idea was, as you tip the bottle, the dark horse is always rearing its head. So there was this cool little piece that we worked in, and that was really all you, man. I mean,
well, it wasn't even me. It was one of the most interesting things that really ever happened, or not ever in the world, but it was pretty interesting to me. But you came to me and said, "Hey, let's try to come up with something for this logo," and I immediately realized it was going to be too complicated for me to do it personally, because I'm not that great of a graphic designer.
Yep.
But we. A guy that was working for me, Josh Brown, said, "Hey, I've got a buddy who's a tattoo artist, and I feel him for this. Like, I feel like he would really excel at this."
Yep.
And so I told him what I wanted. What I wanted was kind of like almost a British feeling, like a Burberry, or I couldn't really explain it, but I wanted to have like the two horses coming at you. You'd see the driver, and that we had talked about that. We had this whole idea.
Yeah.
And the guy draws it up, and he sends us this, and he said, "This is your logo." And I said, "This isn't what I asked for at all." And I was like, "This is garbage. Like, I'm not paying for this." And but the more I thought about it, I thought, well, if it's on a bottle, then and you put the dark horse on the bottom, and then I said, well, I'm going to pitch it. I'm going to pitch it to Fruits, and maybe we could. And just see what he thinks, and if not, we'll just scrap it. We'll go back to my original idea, which I thought was pretty good. And the more we talked about it, the more
it kind of grew organically. And then, it's just kind of this whole. What's been interesting with this whole kind of experience from the very beginning, starting with you, is I've always laughed as I've ran into roadblocks with everything. We've kind of stumbled, and then it's been like this whole new door has opened, and it's been like. Not what I thought it was, but perfect. Like a perfect example is, so we work with a calligrapher he lives in Manhattan. His name's Rajiv Surendra. He just does amazing work. And you had been kicking me ideas for labels.
Yeah.
And they were good. There was nothing wrong with them. It was just too modern. And I always tell you this, I know what I want, but I never know what I want until I see it, and that's what he has to deal with, unfortunately. And so I just called this guy on a whim, and he got back with me, and he kind of unabashedly said, "Hey, listen, I kind of do things this way, and if you don't like them, I'm not going to change how I do things."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Dude, you're like." This is like my brother from another mother. I like this guy, So he kicked us, and he redid, like the original tattoo, and put his bent on it, and he did the old 55 for what it was, and it was just perfect. I mean, he was like, "Give me a couple weeks. I'm crazy busy." I was like, "Okay." Call me back like the next day, and he's like, "Dude, I stayed up all night last night. I just had to put this on paper." And he's just very much pours his heart and soul into everything he does, like we do here, and I was just like, dude, it's perfect.
Well, it's amazing you're doing all this work to source grain. I mean, there's everybody's into things that are local, but you're not doing it just to be local. You're doing it because you have complete control over the grain.
Yeah.
You have complete control with your amazing $500,000 still, and then your vendors are
a little more than that, dude. So
was it over?
Yeah, it's in the seven figures. But
oh, okay. Well, I thought you said $500,000. I thought that seemed a little cheap.
Yeah,
there's a lot. It's
pricey.
It's probably $500,000 in just copper.
The price of copper. Too much. Yeah, I'm waiting for my dad to smother me in my sleep. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, very expensive still, and then these labels because I'd been working on labels, and I just I kind of had worked off some ideas that you'd given me, and then you said, "Hey, I got this guy, I want to try him," and you showed me his work, and it was this hand-drawn, it was exactly the same aesthetic as you are doing with every single other piece of this thing, and it was amazing. It turned out so cool.
Well, it's just, it's kind of like that cool, when you're building a brand, you're kind of trying to tell a story, and we have a really cool story. I always like to say this, when we do tastings, and we're such a new brand, I always tell people we are really doing our best to try to get people to try our products and be able to try our products, because we think the product on its own stands on its own. Because the alcohol industry does a lot of things where there's all these smoke and mirrors, and there's the cool bottles, and there's a cool story, but the spirit itself is like, and we were always like, man, if we're going to do this, like, I want to make the best possible spirit I possibly can, and then kind of have back build with all this. It just kind of happens to be that there's this cool family story behind it, that we're in this cool old school that we renovated right now, that lends to the proprietariness of how we make the spirits that we make, with the basement and, the temperature controlled barrel storage. It's just a very, very cool process, and that's just kind of happened. It wasn't, it was quasi on purpose, but at the same time, like, it was kind of like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
All right. Well, this has been so awesome. Thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
And this will probably be airing, I don't know, next week, or I don't know.
Perfect.
Maybe we could. Yeah. But it's been a great ride.
Well, dude, man,
I'm so happy to be a part of this thing.
Well, hey, we're appreciative for all that you guys do at Tribeswell. It's been literally, we could not do it without you. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. This guy's been one of my best buddies since middle school. Before that, and it's just insane that, like, how everything comes full circle, and that's kind of how we do things. Like, we always want to bring known factors into how we're doing, because that's how we do things anyway. And I would much rather work with someone that I respect, and then on top of the fact that you do awesome work, and you've been, like I said, man, we couldn't have done it without Tribeswell, and it's been a great ride, and it's only getting crazier. So I appreciate it, man.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much, guys. Have a good week.